Hello everyone and welcome to my corner of the world. I have a fun fold to share with you today, and it's a sliding pop-up card. So as you open up the card, this little piece comes up and pops out. And I'd like to thank my Stampin' Up grandma, Sharon Armstrong, for the inspiration for this one. So I've used this as an opportunity to showcase the online exclusives that are currently available at Stampin' Up. Now, these are products that aren't in the catalogues, but they are available online. And there's this delightful bundle, which is the Irresistible Blooms, where we've got lovely stamp set that we're going to use, plus dies. And I have featured these in other videos as well. So though that's the bundle that I'm featuring. I'm also showcasing the embossing folders, and there's a pack of 3. There's this one, which is a lovely sort of craze. There's polka dots, and then there's a floral one. And I'm going to be using this today. And then my other piece that I'm showcasing is the decorative paper, which escapes me at the moment. But it's the decorative paper that we're just going to have a little bit on the card just to bring things through. Now, I am using one of the new colours that Stampin' Up has introduced in their refresh. It's the return of what was an in colour, or I think it was back in something like 2014 or 15, and it's called Lost Lagoon. And it's been one of my favourites for the longest time. And I've paired it with soft sea foam. I looked at it and I thought, you know, that's a really lovely colour combination. So that is what we're working on today. Now, I have done a little bit of prep ahead of time because I want to use most of my time with this video to show you how to do the mechanism for the pop-up. But there's no point having a pop-up unless you've got a really pretty card to put it in. So here we go. Now, the dimensions for this card are, if you look below this video, there will be a link to my to my blog, and it will take you directly to the post for this particular card. So I have got lots of bits, so there's plenty of bits. I've as I say, I've done a little bit of stamping here, and I've also done a tiny bit of assembly. This piece is the bit that goes inside there, and I've got my envelope stamped, so that's one less thing I have to think about. And I have pre-stamped and pre-embossed my front panel here. So my starting point then is my card, and you'll need a piece of cardstock that is 11 by 4 1/4, and I've just scored at 5 1/2. Easy peasy. This piece will go on the front there, but I'm not going to do that until I've got my mechanism working inside. So there's those pieces done. So we've got these pieces here. Inside, I've got my lovely Hooray, It's Your Day. So we're just going to do a little bit of stamping here. Now, all my stamps, all my images and words do come from the Irresistible Blooms stamp set. So everything is together. I haven't used lots of different sets. And I'm going to do my greeting first, because then I know how much room I've got to spare when I put my little decorative leaves. So there's my greeting, and now I'm going to add this leaf. So this leaf is kind of the theme that goes right through this card. It's such a pretty leaf, and as I say, I featured it on the front. This is tone on tone, so I actually used soft seafoam ink onto soft seafoam card, and that gives you a nice sort of subtle look to it. So there is this piece. So just to give you an idea, this piece of here is 2 3/4 by 1 3/4, and then all I've done is layered it onto soft seafoam, and each of these layers are of 1/4 of an inch bigger than the previous one. And so we've got a nice layer pulling all the colours together. So this is my piece that's going to go inside there. Right. So now we're going to focus on a couple of embellishments. So there's a piece of cardstock here. I originally just cut it out plain, and then when I looked at it, I thought, I think this would look better if I used the decal edge dies. And so the one I chose actually measures 3 by 1 3/4, and I've got that piece cut here, so that will go on the front. And then I have my flowers. Now I have a piece of Whisper white cardstock, basic white cardstock. That tells you old habits die hard. So I'm going to stamp one flower, the large flower, in the Lost Lagoon ink. And then the other flower I'm going to do in the soft seafoam. So the bigger one is in the darker ink, and the smaller one in the lighter of the two inks. There. Let's get that out of the way. So there's our two pieces, and I'm going to use my mini cut and emboss machine because it's easier to kind of get the whole thing on camera. So I've got my number 1 plate, that's my base, and then I've got a number 2 plate. Then I'm going to put my card down, and then these are the dies. So what you're going to do, you're going to look to see a shape that matches. And if you see, I've got like big leaf, big leaf. So if I look here, there's a big leaf and another big leaf. And I have a feeling that that is going to be the right way to position it. I'm just pop my glasses on so as I can see. So I'm just going to position it. I may need to sort of just like wiggle it, rotate it slightly to get it all lined up. And then I'm going to stick a bit of tape on it. Oh, I want to put it over there, so let's pop it up here. Now I'm going to do what I rarely do, is to cut 2 at once, just to save a little bit of time. So again, there's a little bit here that looks like a sort of an M, and there's a bit on the die that looks like an M as well. So that is my sort of clue that that's the right way round. And again, I'm just going to kind of wiggle it and rotate it until I think I've got it positioned properly. And put that down. I rarely cut two together because I figure that if one gets messed up, I might have been able to have done it singly without it getting messed up. So let's keep my fingers crossed that this is going to work. So I'm just going to crank it fairly slowly just to make sure that those rollers have time to put enough pressure on the cutting edge of my dies. And let's have a look at the big reveal and see how we did. Ooh, ta-da! That one's looking good. I'm going to put that back in my little pot. When I'm working with lots of different dies, I like to just keep a little pot next to me so that I can put them straight in. So there we have our two flowers and a bit of scrap stock, cardstock there. So now I think we have got all the bits we need to pull everything together. The only other thing I pre-prepared was I cut some leaves using these dies. These are very pretty little leaf dies here. So they're the dies. And I cut one of each out of the Lost Lagoon cardstock. So I've got all my pieces. I'm going to put them in here because I know before too much longer I'm going to turn around and say, oh, lost it. So let's clear some space. Right. So the first thing I'm going to do is to get some double-sided tape. Now these two strips hold the mechanism in place here, and they are, I think, 1 inch by 5.5. And I'm going to put a little bit of double-sided tape. Now you could use the Stampin' Seal Plus, but because this is actually going to take a lot of if you like, pressure, because it's going to be in and out, in and out, in and out, then the chances are that that tape might not be strong enough for the extra work that it has to do. So I prefer to use tear and tape. You could use liquid adhesive, but then you've got to wait for it to dry, that can take a bit of time while you're trying to get your card done. So I'm going to nicely rub my tape into place, and while I'm here I'm going to attach a couple of strips of the decorative paper that comes in the same suite as the Irresistible blooms. So there's one. And there's two. And again, you can see that beautiful leaf, oh, that's a bit on the long side. That beautiful leaf motif is coming into play. I'm just going to trim that bit off. Right, so there's those two pieces, and now we're going to work with these pieces. Now these two pieces are the mechanism, and so this is 9 3/4 by 1.5, and I've actually scored it at let me think, 3/4, 5 1/4, 7, 7.5, and 9 1/4. And this piece is 5 1/4 by 2, and I've scored it at 1/4 inch from each end. All right, and this piece will eventually add go to across there, if you can see. So we're going to put some double-sided tape on the 2 tabs of this piece. Oh, excuse me. And give them a burnish like that. And then we've got this piece, and what you'll need to do is the end that has got all of the score lines. So you've got this score line, and then you've got a big gap, and then you've got 2 score lines, a small gap, and another score line. So for here, we're going to put, if you have that like on your right hand side, we're going to put some double-sided tape. So I'll just give that a good old rub. So there's my double-sided tape. So it's on that tab there, and then that bit in the middle. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to turn it over like this. And on this end, which is now on your left-hand side, you're going to put a couple of pieces of sticky tape, tear and tape. Like that, and we're going to burnish it like this. Okay, so we've got a fold in the middle here, so you're going to fold that and burnish it, and then this fold here, you're going to fold that and burnish it as well, and then these other folds you're going to fold like this. So either side of that piece of tape, and there. So starting from the beginning again, so the side that has all the score lines, you're going to put a piece of tape here and here, and you're going to flip it over, and on the left hand side on that tab you're going to put 2 pieces, and then you're going to put all the folds in so that it curls round on itself. Okay, and so if you look at it like that, you've got this kind of shape. And if you look at my example, can you see this is what the shape is like this? All right, so now what we've got to do is we've got to put the mechanism to hold it in place, and that's this piece of card here. So you can go ahead and pop the score lines in now. And then what we're going to do is, if you have this piece like this with the tape uppermost, we're going to take this and we're going to thread it underneath here like this. All right, and when you push, can you see that it starts to flatten? All right, so that's how our mechanism works. So we're going to find the midpoint here. It's not critical, but it just helps finish it off. So I'm just going to find the midpoint on here, and it's 4 1/4, so roughly 2 1/8. And I'm just going to put a little mark there. That's roughly 2 1/8. And then I'm going to, all right, so this is the way that we've been holding it. We're going to take the tape off of just this tab and this tab only. And then you're going to place this piece here and this piece. You're just going to fold the tab in and you're going to place that fold next to this cut edge. I'll try not to get my head in there. So that it's centered. So can you see I've attached that to the top of this piece like that. And I'm just going to go and give that a good burnish. So now this will curl around like that. So when the card is open, this piece here will be up against there like that. And when the card is closed, it'll be flat. And that's how your pop-up mechanism works. All right. Now, next step is we're going to take our card base and we are going to attach it to our newly prepared mechanism. Now, the best way to do this, again, I'm just going to put like a little mark. So this is 4 1/4. So I'm just going to make a little mark at 2 1/8. I just want to be able to eyeball this. All right. Now, this tab is going to fold under so that the adhesive is to the back. And what we're going to do is we're going to position your mechanism like this, and we're going to attach this piece onto what is basically the front of the card. So it's actually going to go like that. Okay, so I've just lined up this cut edge here with the fold in the card. I'm also going to make sure that my 2 fold lines here are level with the front of the card at this time. All right. Now, that means that it won't be seen when the card is closed. Okay, so holding everything firmly, just flap this one back and take the backing off of these 2 strips. And then we're just going to flap that forward so that it lines up. And again, we're going to give it a good old crunch. So just to go through that again, just so that you're with me. So what we did was we've taken our mechanism and we've laid it down, making sure that these 2 pieces, these edges line up with the front edges of the card. Then we've taken the 2 pieces of backing off here and we've just flopped that down so that we now have this. So this piece is actually stuck to the inside of the front of the card. So we're leaving this piece of backing, we're not touching this piece of tape at all. What we're now going to do is we're going to make sure that we pull this piece of card up to the end or in that fold, and then we can take a piece of tape off at a time. All right, again, making sure that it's level with the edge of the card, like that. Okay, you can see that that piece is now firmly stuck down, and then I'm going to turn it round and repeat. So I'm going to make sure that the piece of card is firmly up against this fold, and then take the backing off. And again, making sure that everything is sort of lying flat and together, making sure that that bit lines up. And we have a there. Now, you may find that this hasn't quite closed, but all you're going to do is to gently persuade it. There. All right, so our fold goes like this. Isn't that cute? Just love it, just love it, just love it. Okay, so there is our mechanism. Now, to finish everything off and to just stabilize it, we're going to attach these two pieces, but you remember we put some tape on the back because we don't want to have any adhesive near any of this mechanism because it'll stop working. So I'm just going to put one. We should have a small margin like that. And I'm just going to turn it round because it's easier to work with things close to you. And I'm just going to pop this piece here. And that just holds everything absolutely steady. And it kind of is pretty as well. It pretties up that mechanism. Look at that. Perfect. Okay, so we're just going to attach our final decorative pieces. So this piece is where you're going to write your "To You, Love from Me" on it. I'm just going to pop that on the inside. Like that. And then I've got my tone on tone embossed front panel. Like that. And then this is my piece here. The reason I put that down was when I did that, they kind of looked a bit lost. So I thought, well, let's give it a platform. So I'm just going to use liquid to pop that in the center. Like that. And then let's see, what did I do? I think I laid this, I popped this up on some dimensionals. So this is where you can use your arranging skills. I'm not very good at flower arranging. But maybe I can just put a little bit of there. So there's I put just 3 on the back. And I think we'll put that sort of half on, half off. And we'll put a couple on here. So it looks like I did it like that. So we need to put, say, 1 here. and one here. We need to keep it away from there. Okay, so that's that. Just have them overlapping a little bit. Then I've got my cute leaves that I cut. So I think we'll just pop those on with a few glue dots. I'll just pop those on. 1, 2, 3, and we'll just slip those underneath the flowers and just fill up a little bit of that white space. Now I have some loose frosted dots. These are part of the same suite and they don't have adhesive on them, but you can pick them up with your tool and position them onto your glue dots. And because that's a little bit smaller than my glue dot, I'm just going to smoosh the glue dot around the bottom of the little embellishment. There we go. I'll pop one in the middle there and then find another glue dot and another embellishment and pop that there. And then my final piece is to attach the pop-up here. So we're going to just remove this and center it up. Stick my fingers in to give it a good firm press. And there we are. So there we have a pop-up or a sliding pop-up card. Isn't that great? It's wonderful. Thank you very much, Sharon, for the inspiration. I do hope that you have enjoyed my video, that you will have a go. If you have enjoyed, go ahead, give us a thumbs up. If you've any questions, you can always put them in the comments below. I will put a link, as I say, to the blog post for this particular card. And if you don't already subscribe, maybe you will. Subscribe to my channel. And also on my blog will be a link to my online store where you can go ahead and purchase these goodies so you can make the card yourself. Well, thank you very much for your time. I've enjoyed sharing this with you and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye bye for now.